Okay, so I've just bought this. I can't tell if it's too big for my background, but it's a model submarine Untersee U-boat 21. I'm so excited to build it. Can you see it? So excited to make that. Also, I'm going camping for a couple nights after I film this, so that's why I'm dressed like granola is my favorite food. Okay, so you know those watches you just love. You have nothing but respect and admiration for them, but for some reason, they just don't look right on your wrist. No matter how much you're trying to make it work and you wish it would work, it just doesn't look right on your wrist. That's me and the Rolex Submariner. It's like dating a person who is perfect for you on paper. Everything should work with you two, but for some reason, the chemistry, the spark isn't there. Today, we're talking about the Rolex Submariner and why I don't have one in my collection. And I don't think I ever will. I genuinely prefer my Tudor Black Bay 58 over the Sub. So this is my Tudor Black Bay 58 in the blue. I've owned this watch for almost 3 years now. And as you can see, I've worn it a lot. I've worn this watch while camping, swimming in the North Sea. I've worn it on many cycling trips. This is my rough and ready dive watch. But I've also been a long-time admirer of the Rolex Submariner. So this is the 126610LV, or the Cermet, or the Starbucks, or whatever colloquial nickname there is. The most recent variation of the Submariner, and I love this watch. Even looking at these two next to each other, I kind of feel like I'm cheating on my Tudor because I aesthetically prefer the looks of the Submariner. But you know, a watch is so much more than how it looks under a camera lens. It's how it looks on the wrist, how it makes you feel, the wearing experience, and how it fits you and your lifestyle. And that's why I chose the Tudor Black Bay 58. Before we go any further, this Submariner is on loan to me from Watchfinder. Yes, freaking Watchfinder. They have generously let me borrow this watch. For me, the hardest part of being a watch review channel is getting hands-on with these watches. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, but I haven't been able to get hands-on with a new Submariner. So thank you so much, Watchfinder, for letting me loan this watch. So as someone with a watch YouTube channel, I get asked all the time, which watch is better, the Tudor Black Bay 58 or the Rolex Submariner, or the Tudor Pelagos or the Rolex Submariner? And better is such a relative term. Better for specifications, the Rolex Submariner. Better aesthetically, I'd also say the Submariner. But better value for the money and what it packs in, the Tudor. And better tool watch, I'd also say the Tudor. Which one is right for you really depends on you, what you value, what you want out of a watch, your personal price point. And when it comes to Rolex, availability always needs to be in the conversation. I'm already bracing myself in the comment section. That's going to be like, what does this matter anyways, because no one can get a Rolex Submariner. Yee. So both of these watches are equal parts quite similar and quite different. Both are modern variations born out of a mid-century dive watch design. So the Submariner was launched in 1953 and was the first dive wristwatch waterproof to 100 meters or 330 feet. Not to be confused with the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, released that same year but just a little bit earlier, and that was the first modern dive wristwatch that was tested to 91.45 meters or 300 feet. So the Sub was the first one that could go to 100 meters, but it wasn't really the first dive watch. They're tricky with their language. The Tudor Black Bay 58 is based on the 1958 Tudor Submariner. So Tudor was born from Rolex founder Hans Wilsdorf wanting to provide a watch that is like a Rolex at a more everyman price point. The early Tudor models borrowed a lot of Rolex parts, cases, crowns, and even bracelets and clasps, but were fitted with more affordable movements. This is the brand DNA that Tudor carries to this day, even though the brands now feel more like cousins than brothers. Tudor is still thought of as the more everyman's Rolex. Tudor feels like the brother who dropped out of university and now goes mountain climbing, whereas Rolex feels like the brother who went to university and they're now a banker who wears a Patagonia vest, if that makes any sense at all. It makes sense to me. Looking at these watches and their specifications, the Rolex Submariner has a case size of 41mm, but measures 40.6 millimeters, a lug-to-lug of 47.1 millimeters, and a thickness of 13 millimeters. This watch has a ceramic unidirectional bezel and 300 meters water resistance. Inside the Submariner date is the 3235 self-winding movement, giving you 70 hours of power reserve. So pretty good, decent, beefy specs that you'd want from a dive watch. The Tudor, on the other hand, has a more true-to-the-era case size of 39mm, lug-to-lug of 46.5mm, and a thickness of 12.7mm. This watch has an aluminium unidirectional bezel rather than ceramic, and 200 meters water resistance. Inside this watch is the Tudor manufacturer caliber MT5402 COSC certified movement, giving you 70 hours of power reserve. Once again, really good beefy specifications here. 100 meters less water resistance than the Submariner. But let's be real with ourselves. We ain't even using 100 meters, so and the aluminium or ceramic bezel is really a personal taste preference. So aluminium feels a little bit more vintage and it has a more matte color. Ceramic is a bit more of a modern material and it has that shiny glossy finish. No right or wrong choice, it's just personal taste and preference. Now looking at the case and design language, I think this is where we begin to see the gulf in the price point and it begins to make a little bit more sense. The Rolex really is that little bit more refined, and this is where Rolex as a brand really delivers. Looking at the dial and bezel, this is a masterclass in thoughtful touches and proportions. So the applied logo, Mercedes hands, the brushing of the steel, even down to the brushing between the little bezel teeth. And there's just something about the sound of a Rolex bezel. It's like ASMR. It's so good. Then the bracelet and the clasp. They're just too good. The fully brushed oyster bracelet tapering down to the professional clasp and dive extension. You can't beat Rolex in the bracelet department. At the price point as well. Unbeatable. Now looking at the Tudor, perfectly balanced dial, and the thick, chunky, loom-filled snowflake hands. Now, snowflake hands are always a point of contention. They're not for everyone. I personally love the crazy legibility of them. But I know not everyone likes them, okay? Aesthetically, I prefer the aluminium bezel. I love how subtle and understated it is, and I prefer the more matte finish. The Tudor bezel also has some delicious ASMR. I got my Black Bay 58 on the bracelet. It's a good bracelet. It's not a great bracelet like the Rolex. So my bracelet looks like someone put it into a sock filled with nails and shook it for 9 minutes straight. But it's a pretty inoffensive brush bracelet, the ever contentious faux rivets, good clasp, with no on-the-fly adjustment. Oh, the no on-the-fly adjustment gets to me. I really feel like the bracelet and clasp let this otherwise amazing watch down. My dream for Watches and Wonders this year is that the Tudor Black Bay 58 gets fitted with the T-fit clasp, which will fix everyone's problems with this watch. So losing the faux rivets and adding a micro adjustment, it is just needed on a watch at this price point. If the bracelet is a no-go for you, the Black Bay 58 is also available on a leather strap and a nylon NATO. So there's this thing I hear all the time, and it's people saying, Tudor is a poor man's Rolex. And I just hate this. So for one, I don't know how many poor people you know, but they're not buying Tudor. And two, it's just different horses for different courses, baby. There are some times where I prefer a Rolex offering over a Tudor, and other times where I prefer the Tudor over the Rolex. GMT, Rolex, divers, Tudor, chronograph. It's a tie. They're both great offerings. I'm just sized out of the Black Bay chrono because it's massive. I've been offered sub dates, no dates, and I've been so close to buying the no date Submariner, but I just couldn't see myself choosing it over my Tudor Black Bay 58. Like when I look at them next to each other, I just think, I think when it comes down to my everyday life choices, I will still reach for the Tudor. And it doesn't have anything to do with aesthetics. I aesthetically prefer the Submariner. But for me, it's just down to the wearing experience. With the Tudor being that little bit more compact, and with the more vintage dive watch look and feel, I personally prefer it. It feels a little bit less clunky and chunky to me. Maybe it's the lack of crown guards. I don't know. The Tudor just does it for me on the wrist. And I personally don't like how glossy ceramic is on a dive watch. I just find it a bit too flashy. I don't know. That's just my personal taste preference. I think the Tudor dive watch range in general is giving Rolex a run for its money. With watches like the Black Bay 58, the Pelagos, the FXD, and Pelagos 39. They're kind of killing it in the dive watch department. I think the Pelagos 39 is going to make its way into my collection soon. I can't stop thinking about it. But anyways, this is just why I personally prefer my Tudor Black Bay 58 over the Rolex Submariner. I hope it doesn't seem like I'm dissing the sub at all, because that's not how I feel. I love this watch. I'm just salty that I'm slightly sized out of it. But don't ever let me and my stupid little opinion put you off of a watch that you love a lot. Amazing watch still. I'd love to know in those comments down below what your favorite dive watch is. Is there any dive watch I should have on my radar and I probably don't? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, do all that YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Right, guys, hello. So if you last to the end, you'll know I've been trying out these Marvel style, like after everything's done, little extra bonus video bits. And for today, I just wanted to take a minute to extra thank Watchfinder for letting me borrow the Submariner. Oh, I can't tell you how game-changing it's been for me. Having Watchfinder say that they'll send me a watch every now and then. For me, making videos, the hardest part is always sourcing the watches. So I have nothing but ideas and things churning, and people always say, like, why don't you talk about this watch or that watch? And often it's just because I can't get hands-on with one. I'm probably trying to, but struggling to get hands-on with one. So if there's any watches you would like to see me review or talk about more, please do let me know in those comments, and I can be rather cheeky and ask Watchfinder to see if they'll send them to me. But yeah, that's that. Thank you so much, Watchfinder. Thank you so much to people who watch my videos, especially all the way to the end. This is amazing. And I'm going camping and hiking and walking. Bye, guys.